But now I want to take the next topic, and you have already made the segue to some degree. So a new topic here, let's talk about change management in the light of the pandemic and the practice of work, or how we work. Digitalization and all that is a big topic. Let's have a context now that I give you. This is a real example, but I will address it who it relates to. But let's say we have a company who has been working in an analog way before. Maybe it's with customers and stuff like this, and now all of a sudden we have worked in a new way where basically we have met customers, we have done different things differently because we had to in the corona, and then we realize we should probably continue to work differently. Maybe it's one thing how we have the office, but equally it's about the cost of going and meeting customers. Can we be more virtual? Can the whole view of how we work look differently? So could we just elaborate of, do we think that? And from a change perspective, the change management aspect, if you want to stick to some of the good practices, could we elaborate on this a little bit? And please take it in any direction you want.
Yeah, well, I've had comments from several customers that their digital journey took a leap 3 to 5 years ahead. And some that have been struggling say that what was impossible half a year ago is now possible. But the circumstances were extreme. It was not just that our organization had to change or our department. No. It was a whole globe. So nobody really questioned that we need to do this. So there was no discussion, why do we need to do it?
So the environment for change was like the perfect storm. Yeah. Not only did your boss said you had to change, everybody's bosses said, or everybody had to comply. So actually the change had no barriers outside as well. Yeah,
it was really nobody telling you to change. You just, you stayed at home and you wanted to work. So how am I going to do it?
But the risk is now, I think if we have had positives, it's crazy to say, but we have maybe digital positives out of Corona, and now the pressure goes back or down. So theoretically, we could work like we did before. Yeah. How can we not go back to how can we optimize the benefit? So what will be required, do you think?
What has happened is that people have actually seen that this works. And the proof of concept, so to say. You don't have to do a lot of events. It's a proof of concept. And we have had the opportunity to grow because the expectations were so low, because it was really a crisis. Yes. So from the beginning, if you just got a sound on your computer, that was a good thing. And then if there was a picture, even if the meeting was crappy, you had a picture, yay. So we grew from very low expectations. To some extent, it has now been accepted, and the bar rises all the time. So now people don't want to be in a crappy team meeting, even if we know it works and so on. But the requirement, and now in the change community, there's a lot of discussions. How do we handle where people are not coming together when you don't have the social interaction? How shall managers work? How do managers really make good meetings? And then it's about management and team. How do we want to work in the future? One thing is to do like Spotify and say, okay, everybody can choose for themselves. But I think every organization needs to ask, okay, how do we want to guide people? What do we think is the best for this organization? And to be much, much better. We talked a bit about when I came to the studio, what requirements do we have on the technical parts? And from the beginning, almost nothing, and it rises all the time. So the digital part will be much, much better. But I'm absolutely sure it's going to be a mixture.
But I have to ask you, from a change management point of view, didn't the whole pandemic was a really interesting learning experience in terms of if you really put you against the wall and force you to change to work from home, like super rapidly, you can do it.
Yeah.
Right?
The pandemic has proven over and over again, with adversity or a common threat or a common goal, we are capable of change in a completely different speed and to a completely bigger impact.
So is the solution and learning from that to actually be successful with change management, we need to be a bit more severe, or we need to put people against the wall, so to speak?
No, I think it's how strong is the why.
It is definitely.
I mean, the bottom line is how strong can you make the why? If the why is strong enough, then change is easy. It's the weakness of the why for the individual, for society, for the organization, and they don't even line up. Like it's good for the company, it's not good for the environment, and it's not good for me. I'm not going to do this change. So I think how big is the why? If you can amplify the why for all shareholders, for the company, for you as an individual, you probably have an easier journey.
But we still must agree that if we do express the why or really get the why demanded to us, we can change much faster than we thought, right?
Absolutely. And in this case also everything around us changed. Yeah. Sometimes when you implement a change in an organization, sales organizations where we want sales reps to be more advisors and business partners, but we still measure how many visits do you make. So to change and you still keep the old structures. In this case with the pandemic, all the structures changed as well. So that made it easier.
You need to measure them. I can't measure how many visits you made because we're not allowed to do visits. What do I measure now? Mm-hmm. Bottom line, and also sometimes when you implement a change, you keep the old ways of measuring and you keep the old structures around the team that changes or the individual, which makes it harder. Now everything changed. That also makes it easier.